say is like we need all set of skill sets, and everybody can fit into cybersecurity careers. Right. So if these are few of the myths that it is cybersecurity equals to hacking, cybersecurity is difficult to learn, and it is meant only for CS students. One of the biggest challenge that everybody faces is the starting problem. Right. So I'm pretty sure everybody would have typed in cybersecurity job, cybersecurity career, or even like trying to learn cybersecurity. You might have put in words like cybersecurity basics, cybersecurity concepts. And the moment you do that, this is how you would feel. Right. So you see there are vast number of subdomains within cybersecurity, and you get lost as to which one is really good. Where should I start? Right. So, and yes, obviously looking at this, your situation will be something like this. You definitely get scared looking into cybersecurity. We try to start the learning, but it ends there itself. So what I call it as a starting problem. Now, in this case, I'm trying to help you make that decision as to which subdomain to choose within cybersecurity. Of course, there's no brainers there, like SOC is what I'm talking about, but I will tell you why SOC is the right choice for career within cybersecurity at this point in time. Right, so let me just, but however, in order to do that, I want to walk you through a story first, and then want to introduce how SOC came into existence. So it was in the year 2000, somewhere between 2008 and 2010, a malware called Stuxnet emerged in the internet. If anybody is in the world of cybersecurity, they would have definitely heard about Stuxnet for sure. Now, this malware was designed in order to bring down Iran's nuclear power plant. Right? And Stuxnet also has the popularity of being the very first cyber weapon. Between 2008 and 2010, the world really realized the potential of what a cyber attack can possibly do. I mean, like, I would recommend you go and definitely search about Stuxnet after this webinar, and you will find that there were the presidents and prime ministers of various countries involved in probably designing and launching and executing this attack. So the whole purpose was to bring down a nuclear power plant. They could not do it using military power. So what they did was they used a cyber attack. Now that's when the world started realizing that cybersecurity, cyber attacks can do much more damage than just some financial losses. In fact, not just Stuxnet, there are several other high-profile attacks. There are several other high-profile attacks that we have seen so far. I mean, like, if you look at these names, pretty huge, big companies, right? So, and it is no surprise that all of these companies have been compromised at some point in time. If you just look at them, these are kind of, say, leaders in their respective areas, right? But still, they aren't safe from a cyber attack. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure people might have heard about the Yahoo's attack. That is so far the biggest attack known, right? So close to, I mean, like, all the user details was actually leaked in the year 2013. Followed by that, Target was one of the companies wherein more than 2 million credit card records were stolen. And the way the malware was introduced into Target's network was tricky, right? So it was actually introduced through the repairman, the air conditioner repairman, right? So, and Sony Sony's cyber attack was no less than a movie itself, because the North Koreans, again, this is according to Wikipedia and all the stories online there, the North Koreans did not wanted the Sony to release the movie, The Interview, which was basically made on the dictator of North Korea, but it was more of a comedy movie. So they did not wanted it to be released, but however, Sony went ahead and announced the release of the movie. So what did the North Koreans do? They hacked into Sony's network and they released the movie themselves, free of cost. Not just that, they released the scripts of several upcoming movies, and that led to somewhere around $178 million loss for Sony company. Right? So that's the impact that we're talking about. So when these companies are getting attacked, now the industry started wondering who is really safe in the internet. Right? So who is safe? I mean, Google, Facebook, eBay, Sony, biggest of the biggest leaders are getting attacked. So who is safe in the internet? And these thought cycles actually yielded some findings. The findings include were very shocking, right? So it was like it took close to around 205 days for companies to detect an attack. Now, this is a very strange, peculiar number here. So the companies, it takes 205 days even to realize that they have been compromised. Now, 205 days is an average. There are companies that have been compromised for years together without being detected, right? So I'll probably be giving another example later on. And some other finding that they identified was 80 days before the attack, there were some indicators that the attack would possibly happen. Now again, these researchers are done in retrospect, right? So now the attack has happened. When they looked back into the data, they saw some evidences or clues that that actually could have identified the possible attack. But however, as we know that like these indicators were typically overlooked. So to put that into context, so considering a calendar year, if the attack was happened somewhere in the mid of November, or actually detected in the mid of November, the attack actually happened or executed somewhere in the mid or early April. And 90 days or 80 days before that, there were some indicators. Like what kind of indicators? For example, like Steven from logistics team is actually trying to access the database, which he should never be doing. So such kind of indicators were actually appearing, but nobody noticed them, and that's what caused the attack. But the funny thing is, it was not detected on April 3rd or 4th or 5th. It was only identified by mid of November, right? So that's what, on an average, it's taking 205 days for the companies to detect that they have been compromised, right? So, and finally, the final research was that led to identifying that 67% of the time, the attacks that were detected by an external entity. Now, this is a shocking number. That means the so-called well-paid engineers, highly paid security engineers like us, were only effective 33% of the time. So 67% of the time, it was an external person who was reporting these attacks. Now, who were these people? Yes, I mean, these were not the bug bounty hunters, as you might be thinking. These were common users who were using the services of the companies. For example, one fine day, you might get a message from your bank saying that so many dollars has been withdrawn from your account, and you are pretty sure that you did not do that transaction. And you go and complain to the bank, and the bank typically says, we cannot help you much there, because they just tell that you might have shared your PIN with somebody, and that's why somebody withdrawn the amount. But when the bank starts receiving hundreds and thousands of such complaints, they will launch an internal investigation and finally identify that some 200 days or 300 days ago, the database has been compromised. So that means most of the cases, it's an end user like you and me, the consumers, who are reporting these kind of attacks. Of course, not directly, but giving them some abnormal behavior on their accounts, right? So now, followed by these, so they obviously wanted to understand the root cause. I mean, like, why are these kind of attacks still continue to happen with greatest and the best of the best companies? And they found out that the actual cause was due to lack of security monitoring. The lack of security monitoring was in fact the cause for all the attacks. They had the best of the best technologies like firewall, antivirus to protect them, They had best of the best people to configure them in order to protect the network, but because of the lack of security monitoring, I mean, like we talked about that 80 days before, there were some good indications. That was the part. That was the actual reason what was leading to a lot of cybersecurity attacks. Now, the next question is, what should we monitor? Again, if it is a physical complex, like say a shopping mall, I know what to monitor. I place the cameras everywhere in the shopping mall, and I put all these video feeds into the monitor and start watching, right? So, but like, what do I monitor when it comes to the network infrastructure, right? So now, the answer to that is basically in the form of logs, right? So the way a person tells his story by words, a computer tells what is happening with it through its logs, right? So it's all about logs that tells us the whole story as to what is happening in the network. Now, whose log should we monitor? Which server log should we monitor? In fact, we need to monitor the systems and the server logs. We need to monitor the security solution like antivirus, firewall, web application firewall, proxy, email gateway, and we definitely need to monitor the logs coming in from various network devices as well, right? And so, but however, like even though we realize that like we need to monitor, there were certain challenges that the industry had to address. Now, what were these challenges with respect to logs? The first challenge is that these logs are definitely not easy to read, right? So a log will typically look something like this. Definitely not something animated or it is just plain simple text. Ugly looking text. Now, couple that with the second challenge that we have. There is a huge volume of logs coming in, right? So now how many logs? Typically a company of say 1,000 employees will generate close to around 25 million logs every day. Now that accounts for 300 logs every second. Now, couple challenge number one and challenge number two. They are not easy to read, and there is a log sample there, and 300 of such logs appear on your screen every second. It is humanly impossible for anybody to read and understand what's happening in the logs, right? And the third challenge is that the industry vendors do not follow any standard in order to log. For example, a failed login event from a Linux environment might look something like this, right? So a simple one line, and it has all the information that you need. But the same login failed event in a Windows platform would look something like this. Very detailed, it gives you a lot more information than just one simple line. So these were some of the challenges that the the industry was facing. And in order to overcome that, a technical solution was introduced that could actually solve this problem. And the technology was called SIM, Security, Information, and Event Management. Now, this is a kind of God-sent technology. Again, people who are already in the industry might be laughing at my words now, but because there are a lot of evolution of SIM and other technologies. But back in the days in 2010 and 2011, SIM was a technology that kind of created a whole new subdomain in the area of cybersecurity, right? Now, what is SIM? For the sake of keeping it light and not going too technical, let's say that it is a technology that takes in millions of logs, right, and convert them into few hundred suspicious activities, right? So take millions of logs. Millions is definitely not a number that anybody can handle. But however, SIM takes that, runs them through some intelligence, and generates a few hundred suspicious activities. Now, 100 is definitely an addressable number, right? So that's what SIM can do for you. Now, let's just have a quick recap of what we have learned so far. We got to know that there was a problem of continued cyber attacks, and we got to know the root cause of it. So that was lack of monitoring. And then we also found the solution, a technical solution called SIM. Now you might be thinking that so because there's a solution called SIM, everybody started using it and the attack started reducing. No, that is not what happened. If we are thinking that, we are absolutely wrong. Why? Let me try to walk you through a real life analogy. Right, so we all know that there is a problem of deaths caused due to accidents, or especially two-wheeler accidents. That's the problem. And we know the root cause of these deaths in most cases is not wearing a helmet. And obviously the solution is to wear a helmet. Now, how many of us, right, really wear a helmet in order to protect ourselves? Right, so again, I stay in India, and we know here in India, so it's our hairstyle probably is more important than our lives. Right, but however, we still end up wearing the helmet in order to abide by the rule enforcers. We wear these helmets in order to avoid paying that fine to the traffic police. Right, so there are different rule enforcers in different countries that will take care of the road safety on the roads. Right, so there is RTO in India, DMV in US, and there are similar other agencies that enforces the rules as to how you should behave on the roads. Now that brings in safety on the roads, right? Now, there are similar kind of rule enforcers in the world of cybersecurity too, right? So, and these kind of rule enforcers are called as compliance and regulatory compliances, right? So these are called as regulatory compliances. Now, few of them are PCI, payment card industry. Any company that would hold the credit card information of the customers need to follow the rules defined by PCI. And then GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, defined by the European countries, right? And then there is HIPAA, wherein you need to be followed by all the companies that are involved in insurance and healthcare. Right, so these cybersecurity rule enforcers started telling that you need to have a security monitoring. It is an essential component now. Otherwise, we will not be able to certify your company, PCI or GDPR or whatever it is. Right, so we will not be able to certify. So now, do you understand this? I mean, there is some body that says that you need to compulsorily have security monitoring. And obviously, everybody will start buying SIM now. Everybody starts investing their money on SIM. That's why there was a lot of business dynamics that changed, that happened in the year 2011, right? So some of the business dynamics included wherein IBM acquired a company called as Q1 Labs. These big companies, they realized that now everybody will start buying SIM solutions, and we don't have a SIM solutions, so let's go and acquire companies that are building them. So IBM acquired Q1 Labs, McAfee acquired a company called as Nitro Security, and Splunk, who were predominantly into application log management, ventured into a SIM solution as well called Splunk Enterprise Security. Right. So what started off as with a handful of SIM vendors currently have more than probably say 80 strong players in the world of SIM technology, right? So we have come a long way from ArcSight, RSA Envision, there's IBM Curadar, Splunk, Securonics, Logarithm. So these are few of the SIM solutions in today's world. Right now, how is it all relating to our job opportunities? Now, let's talk about a little bit about that. Right. So the team that makes use of this SIM solution is called as a SOC, or Security Operations Center. Right. And a typical SOC would look something like this. Of course, this is a very high-end, fancy SOC, but yes, something similar to a NASA launchpad kind of a thing. And people who work in SOC are called as security analysts or SOC analysts. So that's the That's the title for the whole presentation here, right? So SOC analyst or security analyst. Now, the demand for cybersecurity analyst role is actually growing day by day. Now, why is this? Even though the SIM is around for quite a few years now, because we started off this story from 2008, 2010, and SIM came into mainstream market somewhere in the year 2011. But the SOC position, the SOC analyst position has picked up momentum only since 2014, right? So what I'm trying to say is that this is relatively a new job role. SOC analyst role is relatively a new job role, right? Now, what are the typical responsibilities of a security analyst, right? Now, the very first responsibility of a security analyst is to monitor the infrastructure using specialized tools like SIM solution. And the thing is, analyze the triggered alerts from SIM. And then we need to create incidents for validated alerts. And then remediate or assist in remediation. We have to fix those incidents that have been raised. And also hunt for malicious activities, right? Hunt for malicious activities. So now these are few of the responsibilities of a security analyst. Now, are these the only, or is it the only role in SOC? No, SOC team is comprised of various other roles as well, including, of course, it starts off with security analyst, followed by a senior security analyst who does a deep dive investigation. And then there could be a SIM engineer who does all the configuration, fine-tuning of SIM solutions, followed by a threat hunter who actively dives into the data to look for possible threats. And then there is incident handler who takes care of the remediation of the raised incidents. There is threat intel researchers. So these are the people who keep on looking for the latest attack and the artifacts of the attacks so that we can start protecting our own network. Then there is forensic specialist and red tape specialist, followed by a SOC lead and a SOC manager in order to guide and build a vision for the team. So these are the various teams. Of course, automation is taking a huge role in the area of SOC in recent years. And also, in fact, that is becoming mainstream as well, right? Now, so what are the skills required for somebody to be a security analyst, right? So one of the key skills is basically a good understanding of security concepts and attack vectors, right? Followed by that, you need to be good with the knowledge about the preventive technologies like firewall or antivirus, or a IPS or a WAF. And then you need to have a good understanding of vulnerability assessment and patch management. And then followed by that, you need to have a great analytical mind in order to correlate different aspects of the network or a network attack, right? So these are few of the skill sets required for a security analyst. Now, you might be wondering as to how do I acquire these skills, right? So, in fact, CompTIA has definitely done a great job of introducing a certification called CYSA Plus, which stands for the CompTIA Cybersecurity Analyst Plus, which is created to address the industry need for IT security analysts, right? So it contains of the predominant 5 domains. In fact, like very recently, the CompTIA Security CYSA Plus has been upgraded to version 2, right? So, and it includes domains like threat and vulnerability management, software and system security, security operations and monitoring, which is what the main SOC does, incident response and compliance and assessment. So, this certification has been created only for the purpose of one job role called as security analyst or SOC analyst, right? So, of course, that's not the only certification that CompTIA has. So it has the whole suite of certifications And if you see there, CYSA is one specialized certification which comes right after Security Plus. Right. And here are the exam details for CYSA Plus, which is again version 2. Version 1 is still running, I think, till October. And it's close to around 3 hours examination. And on a scale of 100 to 900, you need to be scoring 750. What is best about the examination is that it is performance-based as well as multiple choice questions. So what is performance-based? You need to perform some activity real time in order to prove your skills as a security analyst. Right? And how do I pick up this information? So there are various resources available. There are a lot of instructor-led trainings organized by SOC experts as well as CompTIA. And then there is a student guide that is available. And you can purchase all these things in the stores up there in CompTIA store, right? So yeah, I actually planned this event for close to around 1 hour, and then possibly take some question and answers. But in order to conserve the time and save everybody's time, we cut short this presentation into 1 hour. And yeah, thank you all for listening. And yeah, just if you have any questions, throw them up there, and I will be happy to answer them with respect to SOC or certifications. All right, so let's see.
Okay, thank you, Anand. If you look over in the chat, we have Varun and Pradipto from CompTIA who've been monitoring the questions, and it looks like they put some over in the team chat for you to take a look at.
Great, great. And I would definitely seek Varun's or Pradipto's assistance in terms of answering few of the questions, especially the ones that would be related to the certification, and anything technical, I will definitely picking them up. Wow, now I see an interesting question there. Any suggestion on how to crack an interview for cybersecurity job as a fresher? That's a good question, but yeah, I mean, like, I would definitely say learn your stuff and do a lot of hands-on, and definitely will be able to clear any interviews. It's all about skills these days rather than your degree or anything. Right. Are there any prerequisites? So are there any prerequisites for CYSA Plus examination? I would take the liberty of saying that I don't think Security Plus is a prerequisite for CYSA. You can directly take CYSA, but I think 2 years of experience is preferred there. Varun, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so there's one interesting question. How about the fact that slowly the AI is taking over the SOC analyst job? Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question. So a lot of us believe that the security analyst L1 job is going away. I would definitely like to correct there. So yes, there is automation, and automation is invading into each and every possible sector. However, the job of a human cannot be taken away, especially when it comes to adding the context into cybersecurity. For example, let me give you a very good example here. We have a technology called Azur, SOAR, Security Orchestration and Automated Response. Now, what it does is basically, if you are trying to see a brute force attack happening on a user account, it might temporarily disable the account. Now, imagine that account being one of your sales engineer who is actually giving a presentation at the customer site. Or imagine that account being your CEOs or senior managers or directors, right? So people are still hesitant to use automation in incident responses. I'm not saying that it will never make its way into incident response. It will definitely. And at that point in time, the role of a security analyst will change. It will not just go away, because human intervention is definitely essential in order to add context to the analysis. Right, so that's about will AI, that is artificial intelligence, take over SOC analyst jobs? No, I don't think so. They will still be there. The job role will be a little different, but they will still be there. And the other thing that we should be aware of is that no matter how much ever artificial intelligence we are using to defend our network, the hackers are also using artificial intelligence to launch their attacks too. Right, so even they are getting smart. So there is, can a non-IT fresher join the course and get a job? Is a question, I believe. Again, as I said, this is definitely not only for people who are pursuing or who have pursued your computer science or electronics degree. Okay, let me tell you a fact here. Out in this last 4 years, it's not very common in India to get jobs in MNCs without a degree. In the last 4 years, we have had 28 people without a degree get jobs in MNCs. Of course, it's not a big number if you compare it, but in India, it definitely is. Because with so many graduates available, why would anybody care for a person that doesn't have a degree, right? But however, in the recent days, skills matter more than your college degree. So mostly all jobs for SIM and SOC require experience as a fresher. Oh my God. Okay, fine. Like, so this is the question here. Mostly all jobs for SIM and SOC require experience as a fresher. How to gain skills and score a job. This is definitely not something that I would agree with. In the last 3 years, we have worked with several 3,200 fresh graduates, and we had 88% of placements. In fact, at this point in time too, there are a lot more opportunities in the market than we can cater to. Right, so we do get opportunity. I mean, like we do get requests from various companies to fill their open positions, and most of the time we run short of good candidates to refer. Right, so and I would rather, in fact, say that like there are actually more number of opportunities for fresh graduates in the world of SOC than for working professionals. So why should we enter SOC as a career? There are so many domains in cybersecurity. Absolutely. There are more than 200 subdomains within cybersecurity. So why should you enter into SOC? Point number one, there are huge number of opportunities in SOC right now. Point number two, it is relatively easy to get into cybersecurity, into a SOC job. I'm not saying that it is very easy. It is relatively easy compared to a lot of other profiles. Now, the third point that I would want to say here is, as a SOC analyst, you will actually be exposed to various domains in cybersecurity. I'll tell you how. If you end up taking a job as a firewall engineer, you or most of the person in the firewall engineers would not be knowing anything about endpoint security, like an antivirus or a server, right? And a person who is working on server side might not know anything about the network side. And irrespective of anything, server administrator might not know all the business units. But when you are a security analyst, not only should you be knowing about the technologies being used, you should also start worrying about how many sites does the company have, how many people do work with us, what are these kind of job responsibilities that we have in our companies. Why are those, even though our company is located in, let's say, United States, why are we seeing traffic coming in from, let's say, Mexico, right? So you will be getting a complete bird's eye view of the overall security infrastructure. Now, I would always recommend any fresh graduate to start their career with SOC because with that, they will get to know what career to pursue further. I mean, what subdomain to choose further, as you will be exposed to various areas within cybersecurity, being a SOC analyst. And what is the typical time for preparation for the certification? For the CYSA Plus, I would recommend that like you go through the student guide that is given by CompTIA. That's pretty, I think this might be a little bit, it might sound a little bit biased, but let me put it anyways. So far, I have taken several certifications, and CYSA Plus, right, is one of the best certification for the role of security analyst. I mean, like if you are a security analyst, if you are a CYSA Plus, then that means you have all the knowledge required for performing the role of SOC analyst. It's one of the awesome certifications that I have seen lately. And how much time does it take? I would say go through the student guide a couple of times. It might probably take you a month's time. And if possible, use the Cert Master preparation guide that is offered by CompTIA. Now that will kind of help you to prepare for the actual test. Right, so that you can do. Somewhere around 45 days to 60 days would be an ideal preparation time for the certification. But make sure that you do a lot of hands-on, because for the performance-based questions, you won't be able to clear them by just going through the book. Is CCNA required for cybersecurity? I don't think so, but yes, the knowledge what CCNA can give you is definitely is valuable. But CCNA, as the name says, it's Cisco certified, right? So you'll be prepared more on the lines of how Cisco network devices work. But however, it's still a great certification and covers a lot of network concepts. I would rather prefer CompTIA's Network Plus instead of CCNA, because this is more vendor neutral. Network Plus is more vendor neutral and has a wide range of topics covered. So I should. Okay, do companies expect freshers to be certified? Okay, so do companies expect freshers to be certified, or how can certification help me get a job? Yes, companies definitely prefer people who have certifications, right? So now there are two reasons for it. Reason number one is, obviously it proves your seriousness towards learning cybersecurity, and it also proves your skill sets. Now I'll tell you the real reason why companies like certified people. These certified people will help them to put across their clients and appear really good. So the companies will hire you and will go in front of the customers and say, we have 30 CYSA plus certified security analysts. We have, let's say, CISSP certified engineers who are architects, right? So these certifications will help companies win more projects and will get more business out of it. So yes, two reasons. It proves your skill sets, and it will help companies to get more business. So certifications definitely hold value for even a fresh graduate as well as for lateral movement. Now, I would like to add another point, especially in the adverse situation what COVID has brought us. This challenging situation, you definitely need to stand out of the crowd in order to prove your skill sets. Just having knowledge is not enough. You need to have some additional credentials. And I believe a certification will definitely go a long way in terms of putting your CV in front of the right people. So yes, certifications definitely add value. Okay, so I have some experience in IT, mainly business analytical development, but never into security. How easy it could be for transition into a SOC role? Again, it is as much interest that you can showcase in terms of learning it. We have helped more than 900 professionals who are coming from various domains, like say development background, testing background, and have helped them to move into cybersecurity careers. Typically, it would take somewhere around 3 months' time for you to get involved in the subject and get the job ultimately. Okay, so there is a very interesting question here. Any specific certification program which would help us to take advantage of rising SOAR-related jobs? Again, as I said, SOAR is a upcoming technology which is a lot of automation involved there. I don't think there is any vendor neutral certification as of now in the market. There are a lot of vendor based, not every, but like most of the SOAR vendors have their own certifications. You can pick them up in terms of showcasing your value. But I would say learning Python or any scripting language and getting certified in that area will definitely showcase your value, because these SOAR technologies are all about coding, right? So make sure that like you code and you automate things. That's a good thing. So there's a question that says, does this role require programming skills? I would say not really at this point in time. It might not require programming skills, but eventually, I don't think there would be any job in IT that will work without knowing some programming skills. So to get a job right now, you don't need to have programming skills. In fact, only since last year, somewhere in the middle of 2019, we started introducing Python in our curriculum. Earlier to that, no, we never did that. Okay. Can I get you? So can we handle security for companies? And cybersecurity jobs in the market. I'm just going through the questions here and just trying to pick up the ones that I did not address. Okay, there is a simple question here. What would be your advice if I'm going to shift from NOC engineer to SOC analyst? Is it a good decision? It is an awesome decision, right? So definitely anybody who is working as a network engineer or working in NOC, please go ahead and shift your career into security, and that will definitely be a great career booster. And one additional thing that I would like to add is it will be very easy for you to move, because as a network engineer, you already have the complete awareness of the infrastructure, how things work. You know about the firewalls, you know about the interfaces, you know about the bandwidth consumption. So a lot of things you already know about things. So it will be a very easy transition from being a network engineer to a SOC analyst or a security analyst. So what's the difference between Security Plus and CYSA Plus? Okay, Security Plus is a basic certification that introduces you to the area of cybersecurity in a complete vast scale, right? So whereas CYSA Plus is a very specialized certification that will help you to become security analyst. CYSA Plus is targeted more towards SOC analyst job role. Now, I mean, that is the power that the job role has. I mean, there are dedicated certifications being created for that one single job role. Now, you need to understand a company like CompTIA would not create a certification unless there are enough number of opportunities out there in the market. Security Plus is basic. And I would definitely recommend that anybody doing CYSA Plus, if you are totally new to cybersecurity, do your Cybersecurity Plus first and then pick up a CYSA Plus. Although I don't see anywhere it is mandatory, but if you are new to security, that's the way to go. What other fields are available in cybersecurity other than SOC? There are other fields like penetration testing. If you are a good hacker, you can definitely pursue penetration testing. And then there is defensive security, or we call it as infrastructure security. These are the people who build a defense like firewall, antiviruses, proxies, email security, etc. Then comes the compliance side of it, right? So wherein these are the people who enforces the policies and procedures and make sure that everything is as per the best practices of the industry. So that's the compliance. And one of the very aggressively growing area is the application security, right? So it could be both in terms of application security architects or application security testing engineers. So because and this is another reason why I like CYSA Plus. When they upgraded from version 1 to version 2, they started introducing a lot of the application related security issues, right? Now, what is happening in the world is that the companies are getting a very good hang of how to defend their network from a, let's say, infrastructure point, like say placing a good firewall, making sure that they're educating their users. But the ultimate weakness nowadays is lying within the application. And lots of attacks are happening through the application itself. When I say application, it's mostly a web application. More often than not, it is a web application. Wherein we hear people who are booking air tickets for $1 or like say getting unlimited free rides in Uber, right? So these kind of compromises are happening at the application layer, and that's why the application security is taking a big raise. And CompTIA CYSA Plus has done a good job of including several topics about the application security. So application security, compliance, offensive security, then there is forensics and malware analysis as well, which is basically the advanced field within the area of SOC and incident response. So these are some various domains that you can probably look into when it comes to cybersecurity.
Hi, Anand. Varun this side. So we have a lot of questions on the group chat as well as the Q&A section. So would you be able to see those questions and answer them one by one?
I was watching, I was reading them in Q&A, but yes, let me try to go through group chat.
Hi, this is Pradipta here. We have posted also a lot of questions on the team chat window as well. So some of them are technical in nature, so you can spend some time in kind of explaining them. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, there is one question that says, is Linux or Python knowledge help in SOC analyst profile? Definitely. I mean, Linux is definitely a go-to platform in order to become a security analyst. Again, you don't have to be deep dive technically advanced Linux administrator, but you need to know how to get along with the operating system. And Python, as I said, it's a scripting language. You can use that tool in order to automate a lot of things. So both of them will be a great add-on for security analyst or a SOC analyst profile. Now this is a tricky question. Which SIM tool, according to you, is the best, and which one will give the accurate results like root cause of the malware? Now, obviously, I don't want to answer this question straight away, but I would say any tool that has big data built in, right? So rather than working on a relational database, like a lot of traditional SIM solutions did, any SIM solution that works on the entirety of the log, I would say that is a good SIM, because then I can take up the log, each and every part of the log, and build any logic that I want, any intelligence that I want, right? So again, I'm probably a big fan of Splunk myself, but there are a lot of other good tools out there in the market, and most of them are really good. And when it comes to malware, right? So yeah, I think that this is an interesting topic here. There is a solution called as EDR. Right, so endpoint detection and response. Now, EDR and SIM are being merged, and I think in a couple of years we'll start seeing EDR being a part of SIM solution itself. Now, when you have EDR, that gives you a great potential in terms of detecting malware activities when our traditional antivirus fails. Right, so and EDR will require you to install an agent on each and every single host machine. Now, yeah, that's the answer for which is a SIM tool, best SIM tool. Yeah, any tool that can work on big data analytics is better.
Anand, hi, Anand. This is Pradipta here. Yes. Anand. Anand, there is a lot of question regarding comparative between CEH versus CompTIA. So can you give your perspective in terms of what are the differentiators, key differentiators in terms of the way CompTIA takes the exams or designs the exam versus the others that they have mentioned, and also a bit about CISSP because somebody has also asked that. We'll appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. So there is a question: CEH versus CISSP versus CompTIA, which is best? Now, I have a couple of EC Council certifications, a couple of CompTIA certifications. I'm currently pursuing CISSP. So, so the way it goes is CH possibly has some good visibility in terms of job market, but however, when it comes to the real demand for certifications, CompTIA is definitely a winner here. Now, the reason behind, I am just getting some words that I should not be using in an open webinar like this. Let me put it this way: it is very easy to get a CEH certification, but CompTIA, I don't think so. So you need to have real skills in order to get CompTIA certifications, just like a CISSP too, right? So that's the big differentiator. And we all know in most of the cases in India, when somebody says that like you are CH certified, that doesn't hold much value there. And in terms of the knowledge and depth wise, there is definitely not a good comparison to compare CH versus CYSA plus. CH versus penetration test. Pen test plus would be the right comparison. When you compare that, CH is all about talking about the tools used for attacks, whereas pen test, even though it covers a lot of tools and the procedures for conducting a penetration testing, the pen test plus certification also focuses on the management aspect of the whole engagement. Right. So, what are the rule of engagement? So, how do you sign an agreement with the company where you are doing a penetration testing? So, everything is covered, and how do you report a particular vulnerability that you identified? So, all these things are very well covered in Pen Test Plus certification. And whereas CISSP is more of a management certification, it is for somebody who typically have, let's say, at least 4 or 5 years of experience and is holding a role of a lead or senior position in a company. Now, how does CISSP help? I would say CISSP is a great bridge between the management and the technical teams, right? So because CISSP talks a great deal about the risk and how companies and the businesses get impacted, and also gives you a very good knowledge on various technologies that can help us prevent cyber attacks, and not just technologies, but the policies and procedures. So if you are a CISSP certified, I guess you will have a very good command over how the communication that you do with your management, because it covers both managerial aspect as well as technical aspects of cybersecurity. And again, that the same comparison goes with the OACP as well. So that's fine.
Anand, since there are a lot of students, and one question which they are asking is that how can CompTIA Security Plus help them in starting their career in cybersecurity? So can you just spend some time and explain students that if they really want to start a career in cybersecurity, how can CompTIA Security Plus help them?
Sure. Again, okay, let me start with the situation again here, right? So COVID has brought us a very challenging thing, and most of there are a lot of layoffs happening in various companies, but luckily, because a lot of companies are relying on digital and digital transformation, the job requirements for cybersecurity will not be much affected. But however, that doesn't mean that there will be huge opportunities waiting for everybody in the world in order to take up the jobs, right? So you have to prove your skills. And the very first thing, I'm trying to be a little bit more practical here, right? So rather than giving you a hypothetical answer, let me give you a very practical answer. In order to get that first call from the HR, right? So you need to show some skills, right? And one of the ways that you can show your skills is through a certification. And certifications will definitely, as I said, not only will it prove that you are skilled, it also adds value to the company that will hire you, because now they have got one certified engineer whom they can portray him in front of the customer and win more projects. So certifications are definitely going to add great value as a fresh graduate and also for laterals. I'm not good in programming. Does it give me a drawback in this field? Yeah, I would not say at this point in time. Again, it does not. It is not a drawback as of now. But going further, as I said, there won't be any IT career without knowing a little bit of coding skills. That's the way to go. But as of now, probably for another couple of years, maybe another 3 to 4 years, I think you can still survive without learning a programming language or a scripting language. So during lockdown period, are there any courses available for free? I think CompTIA has had in fact like announced a couple of free courses, the initial basic courses for free. I'm sure that Pradipto or Varun will be able to talk about that before starting. What can be the best way to predict market returns?
Yeah. So what CompTIA has done is that we have started offering our IT fundamentals e-learning, as well as we have opened up CompTIA Cert Master practice for the academic students. So maybe the students who have registered for this webinar, we can send them a link to from where they can actually access the free resources which CompTIA is offering to the students interested to start a career in information technology. Thank you.
Great, thanks for. And I see an interesting question here. What can be the best way for a project manager to transit into cybersecurity domain? I mean, like most of these conversation we are targeting is mostly for graduates and for people who are in the early stage of their career, maybe 1 or 2 years. But there's a question that is asking, how can a project manager transit into security domain? Again, I mean, I probably might not be able to answer it here, but very soon SOC Experts is launching a free sessions on career transformation, right? So I'll be handling few of these sessions. So please watch out for our website and also on the LinkedIn page. You will start seeing, especially people with 8 or 10 plus years of experience, if you want to transit into cybersecurity, how can you go about doing that? So we'll be discussing it there. So
Anand, this is Pradipto here. Anand.
Sure.
There was an interesting question on the Q&A which asked about Kali Linux and its relevance to security. So can you just throw some light on that, please?
Sure. So Kali Linux and cybersecurity, very closely, obviously very closely related. In fact, like there is a dedicated certification over Kali Linux by offensive security. And if you are pursuing something from, like say, offensive side, being a penetration tester, you cannot probably do that without using the operating system Kali. I mean, like, Kali is one of the operating system. Now there are various other flavors that have come up, like Parrot and other versions that can help you in terms of doing a penetration testing. Now, what is Kali Linux? It is basically an operating system that has several attacking tools inbuilt into it. Right, so it's a custom-built operating system for penetration testers, and from a CYSA Plus or from Pen Test Plus, in both these cases, you need to be aware about Kali Linux as to how to launch attacks, because the more you understand as to how to launch the attacks, the better you get at defending them. So anybody who is learning how to attack, the very first thing that they'll be learning about is Kali Linux. So that's the way it goes. Okay. Pradipto and Varun, I think you should be helping me here, like because I see so many questions and really not sure which one I have addressed and which one I'm still yet to address. If you see any interesting question that you think I should be answering, please let me know. I'm working as a system admin. If I take CompTIA, is really allow me to get into SOC. Yeah, I mean, like I'm pretty sure it will help you to prove your skills, especially the CYSA Plus will definitely put your strong case in front of your manager in order to, for your interest in terms of learning as well as pursuing a career in cybersecurity. So that will definitely help.
Anand, hi, this is Varun this side. Anand, what advice you would like to give to the students who are almost on the verge of passing out of their college? I mean, what are some tips and tricks you would like to share with them so that they can really find a job in cybersecurity, irrespective whether it's SOC? What are some of the tips you would like to give to the students?
Sure. I mean, like that's a very, I think, a very apt question for a situation like what we are in. I recently wrote an article on LinkedIn. Like, if you are passed out in 2020, if you are a 2020 graduate, I think you are in a wrong place at a wrong time, right? So I have kind of faced a similar situation. I passed out in the year 2008, and back then there was recession, right? So, and I have crossed this phase, and for some reason I feel I got lucky, because if it was not recession back then, I would have got into, like, say, a development career or a testing career, just like several of my other friends got into. But somehow, because of the recession, I had to work my way up and get a job in the infrastructure side. I started off with CCNA, A plus, and N plus. I mean, long back, CompTIA's A plus, N plus, and CCNA. Did all these things, got into network, got in as a network engineer, and then was lucky enough to move into cybersecurity, right? So what I'm trying to say is, yes, the situations might not seem good. If you try to pursue a job opportunities in any other field right now, it would be very difficult. Cloud computing, yes, very good. And like cybersecurity, awesome. Now people are questioning as to what will happen about AI, IoTs, and etc. There are debatable topics, and the way I think about it is that the economy has pulled us probably a couple of years back now. And a lot of people who wanted to build these awesome technologies will be hesitating to build them because of obviously lack of money and lack of buyers. I mean, like in another couple of years, there won't be buyers to buy these good technologies, but there will be a lot of investments in automation, right? So, and cybersecurity, and because people start relying on technology more, there will be more of attacks that will happen on these technologies, and that's why the demand for cybersecurity will always increase. I mean, like I can always advocate for the cybersecurity jobs, and I am in that area. But however, there are a couple of other domains too that you can probably look into, like say cloud computing and other things. But stick to cybersecurity. I would say if you're attending this webinar, I'm pretty sure you have at least 50% of your mind already set on cybersecurity, and I'm pretty sure being in the area of cybersecurity, it'll be far more easier and it'll be quicker for you to get the job, right? So be prepared. The market will definitely improve. It'll start recovering, and when it starts recovering, and when there are opportunities out there waiting for you, you should definitely stand out. And how do you do that? Learn your things really well. Use this. I mean, like I am pretty sure a lot of people have used the lockdown period really well in terms of learning new technologies and in terms of acquiring a lot of skill sets. So even a fresh graduate should be doing that. And one important thing that I would like to tell for a fresh graduate is, come out of the students' mentality. We, from SOC Experts, train several graduates every year. One of the major hurdle that we have to cross with all of these graduates is to adjust that mentality of being a student and converting them into a professional, right? So The one way to do that is start engaging, start talking to people who are already in the industry. You might definitely have your seniors, your brother, sister, your some relatives who are working, and if they are working in cybersecurity, even better. Talk to them and understand what is happening in the real world, right? So, and all this preparation will definitely probably help you to grab a job when the opportunity strikes, right?
Thank you, Anand, for answering that. One more question, and I think, I mean, you covered in your slide as well. You talked about the cybersecurity myths, and you said that hacking is not just about cybersecurity is not about hacking. What we see is that a lot of students in India get fascinated by the term hacking, unlike in West, wherein people really know the difference between hacking and information security. Right? What advice would you like to give to freshers who really get mesmerized with the term hacking? Do you think there are enough jobs available for hackers at the entry level? If not, what should be the right career pathway for these students?
Sure. I think somebody in the group chat answered that question for me. I think he was some tenured cybersecurity professional, and he said 25% of our time. Yes, this is what he says. In my experience of working with some leading organization, in a team, 25% will be VAPT and 75% will be defense. This is what is the actual statement used by one of our attendees here. So he is working in some organization, and 25% is VAPT, that is penetration testing, which means hacking. And 75% is about defensive security, that is protecting the network, right? So if you see, the thing is, there are two ways to look into it. If you are passionate about hacking and being an ethical hacker, that is definitely a way to go. But if you are looking at penetration testing from a career perspective, I believe there are several hurdles that you have to cross. Why? If you want to get a job in penetration testing, first of all, very few openings for fresh graduates. And the second thing is, if you want to get a penetration testing job these days, typically you need to have done some bug bounties, or you need to have your name in some of the Hall of the Fame, right? So Hall of Fame in some websites. I mean, that is kind of the de facto standard several companies are using in order to measure your skills of penetration testing or being an ethical hacker. Now but however, if you are passionate about it, go for it. I mean, that's the way to go. And that is definitely one of the valuable skills you can acquire. But if you are picking up cybersecurity for the sake of entering and getting a job first, then I would say getting into monitoring and defensive side would be the best way to do it, because there are a lot more opportunities available. I mean, like the most of the companies that I have worked with do not even have a penetration testing engineer. They just bring them when they need one as a consultant. They hire them for, like, say 2 weeks to 2 months period, and that's it. But a firewall engineer is required 24/7, 365 days. A SOC team is required 24/7, 365 days. Now, what I'm trying to say is the number of opportunities in defensive and monitoring side are way more. I mean, like, recently I was reading this stat which said 64% of opportunities in cybersecurity. I'm not talking about the whole market here. Just in cybersecurity, 64% of the jobs are in monitoring and defensive side, right? So that speaks volume as to if you are looking for a cybersecurity career, which way to pursue. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, once you get into a SOC job or a defensive job, doesn't mean that, like, you do not have an option to move to a penetration testing later on. You can definitely do that. But if getting a job is a priority number one, then be on the defensive side is my advice.
Great. Thanks for the answer, Anand. As a follow-up question, Anand, you mentioned that the hands-on skills is very much required, right? So what advice you would like to give to the students to ensure that, I mean, they have the right hands-on skills while they're studying, right, and with the target of getting a cybersecurity job? what are the various ways in which the students can really get a real hands-on learning experience?
Okay. I think again, this is a very big question that everybody gets asked. I put that as a part of my slide as a starting problem. I'm like, what tools should I really be studying? I mean, like, there are so many. I would say if you put cybersecurity tools, you will not get less than 1,000 tools now, right? So, and which one do you really practice on, or should you really be practicing on? And that's where companies like SOC experts come into picture, or certification programs like CompTIA will come into picture. Now, what the knowledge is out there. I mean, like, I keep telling this to students all the time. The knowledge is out there completely free of cost. You don't have to pay anything for the knowledge in the internet. What we do as SOC experts is basically we structure and we build a method and a step-by-step process in terms of reducing the number of hours or the duration that is required for you to get the desired output. That is a job. That's what we training company do. And CompTIA similarly has done an excellent job of putting a nice curriculum, right? A nice curriculum of both the topics as well as the tools that are essential for you to be familiar with in order to get the job. So follow one of the curriculums, and I'm pretty sure you will start feeling that confidence of probably performing the required job responsibilities for security analyst or for any job role for that matter. Right. So what I'm trying to say here is, don't just go and Google internet as to what tools to learn. Stick to one curriculum. Anything is good. I mean, like, I'm not saying just follow one curriculum, but stick to a curriculum, a good known, well, or a proven curriculum, and go through it end to end. And I think you should be getting that confidence. And also along the path, the curriculum will definitely introduce you to various tools. Learn them, and that should be good enough to start with. And then eventually, once you get a hang of the tools, you yourself will end up learning a lot of other tools.
Great. Thanks, Anand. So we still have 4 minutes left. So Anand, any closing remarks, any final advice that you would like to give to the students and the people who have attended today's webinar? Any parting tips which you would like to share?
I mean, like, first of all, thank you everyone for being part of this webinar and making it a success. And second thing is, situations are tough in the economy world there. So make sure that you are building the right skills. I know a lot of you are fresh graduates and are like in a very early stage of your career and are aspiring to become cybersecurity engineers. So do not lose focus. Do not lose your heart. Definitely, the economy will improve, but make sure that you will get the first preference when everything is in line. And the way you do that is by acquiring skill sets. Do not sit idle because your friend or somebody else is actually started learning new skills. So you too better start doing that so that you will always stay ahead. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Pradipta here from CompTIA, and first of all, I would like to thank Thomasina Hammond from our team, who is in the US and who is moderating this whole session. I would also like to thank Anand Guru, a renowned subject matter expert, to talk and answer so many questions. And finally, it wouldn't have been possible without so many people joining today's webinar, not only from India, but from multiple other countries. I could see people from Peru in South America to USA to Philippines to Malaysia and so on and so forth. What I would like to also, sign off by saying that these domains are quite international in nature. The challenges that we face in each and every country regarding cybersecurity is pretty much the same. And hence the skills that are required to build a career in this also pretty much remains the same. And therefore, being an international certification body, we are proud to state that our certifications are not limited to any geographical boundary, but are valid all across the world. And wherever you learn, wherever you want to go and make your career, CompTIA as a good place to start with it. And with that, I would like to thank you once again for your participation and the amazing amount of questions that you have asked. Keep the curiosity going. I will just provide on the group chat. I'm just typing our email ID where you can reach out to us, and also the website where you can go to get more details about CompTIA certifications and the learning programs that we have. Thank you very much, everyone. Thomasina, I would like you to help us